Today's note card is based on something I read in Everything is Effed, a book about hope. This is a book by Mark Manson, where he talks about, well, in this description, it says, just like the subtle art questioned our conventional wisdom on what makes us happy, Everything is Effed, a book about hope, questions our assumptions on what makes life worth living. I just finished it a couple days ago and really liked a lot of the lessons in it, a lot of the stories in it, and thought I'd write some notes. I'm trying to just do one idea at a time on these note cards, in these note card videos. So the idea here is to be aware of the power of your feeling brain. I'll go through these three sort of sections about this. So just explaining what the feeling brain is. There's this idea of not quite like left brain, right brain of creative side, right? Or like your the side that can do math, yeah, that kind of thing. This is more about your thinking brain and your feeling brain. And we think that our thinking brain is very powerful, like we learn things as we grow up, and that's the reason we're able to get through life and grow and make good decisions. And it kind of feels like that, like you're the one that's able to think and make decisions, but really the person driving the car is an insane clown, and that is your feeling brain. There's other metaphors for this. Another popular one in culture is the rider and the elephant, where you have the rider, but if the elephant, where the rider is the thinking brain and the elephant is the feeling brain, the rider only has so much control over the elephant. If the elephant, something spooks it, or it just decides it wants to do something else, then that's where it can go do its own thing. And that is how the feeling brain often works, is that, let's go to this. So there's a lot of logic and knowledge and reason in books and those things that go into the thinking brain. These are important things. You build it up by reading, by talking to people, by learning, going to classes, and then the feeling brain just thinks blah 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 blah. Don't really care. I'm only going mostly from things I've experienced, how I feel at the moment. And one thing that this reminded me of is in basketball, or like plenty of other sports, there's analytics, and there's a lot of analytics that go. It's created the current state of basketball right now, where in the finals we saw the importance of shooting threes and defense, and a lot of that came through this analytics revolution. But if you talk to old NBA players, you can't win a championship with a jump shooting team, blah blah blah. They want guts, and whoever wants it more, those kinds of things. In football, like people, yeah, it's like guts and glory. And the thing that this also reminded me of is the book Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke, where she explains pretty thoroughly the 1 yard line, the Seahawks at the 1 yard line against the Patriots, why it was actually a good decision, and you can't go off the results to decide whether or not it was a good decision. And having read that, it's definitely like, I can see why, the numbers and everything. I definitely like root for the Seahawks, and I can see why it's a good decision on paper and that kind of thing. But no matter how much I read about that, the feeling brain in my head still feels like, hey, maybe we try to run the ball there. So this kind of goes to show the power of there's nothing really that can kind of erase the pain of that play, no matter how much I read about it, no matter how much logic and reason there is, that the feeling brain overrules everything there. And this also, I have this note here about Daniel Kahneman and Sam Harris. So Daniel Kahneman was on Sam Harris's podcast, and Kahneman did a lot of work with Amos Tversky, and that was captured or like compiled into Thinking Fast and Slow. So Daniel Kahneman is a pretty world-renowned authority on how people think and how people make decisions and why we think irrationally and that kind of thing. But in that episode, Sam Harris asks him if he, with that knowledge, how much better he is at making decisions and like not thinking irrationally. And he says, well, I still definitely like, it might be discouraging, but basically he says like he still thinks irrationally. The only thing that having the knowledge gives him is the awareness to recognize when he's thinking irrationally. Then he can start applying the tool set. So that's the big thing, is awareness. And then this last section that I have is this idea again of like books and motivation. So when it comes to exercise and fitness, nutrition, eating right, there's a lot of books about this, and those books can range from very scientific to very just like rah motivational. And it can be a thing of like what's effective for different people, but in a lot of cases all of us know that what you have to do is to eat healthier. Whatever you define as healthy is another thing, but we kind of know like probably changing how we eat, there's some better options that we know that we can make day to day. Same thing with fitness, like whatever your workout program is, the important thing is consistency, but actually doing the workout and being consistent can be the hard thing. Even if you have a very simple program, or you kind of have to do these tricks to make yourself work out. One of the better ones being finding a sport that you enjoy, something to do with friends, and in a lot of cases you're really appealing to your feeling brain. And the comparison that I have here is how important like the feeling brain is that if you read these things in some gigantic tome of a book versus if you got that same exact information from someone like some elite athlete, then it might stick more for you. And that has some elements of the feeling brain as far as like who's telling you this. Is it just a bunch of scientists? Is it just an author that you don't know? Or is it this athlete that you look up to? And then I also drew this, or just kind of a doodle, but this is supposed to be Rocky. And I always think of, when I'm thinking of the thinking brain and the feeling brain, how many people have been motivated by reading a bunch of scientific journals about fitness versus how many people have been motivated to work out after they watch a Rocky montage. Or more, I'm sure plenty of people worked out the day after watching Creed, and I'm guessing that percentage is higher than the percentage of people that read or that work out after reading the day after reading a new fitness paper in a peer-reviewed study. Anyway, that's not to say those aren't important. That's really important, and it can work in a lot of cases if you identify as, I'm someone that and this is another thing in the book, is different religions going beyond just like spiritual. This is an interesting thing, and I might make a note card video about that, but in this book Mark Manson also talks about science viewed through the lens of religion and how evidence-based just having something that is based on evidence throughout the centuries has made it this anti-fragile thing. And anyway, that's kind of getting away from the point. So the thing here that I would say as pulling a tool out of this is to build your awareness. Knowledge is still good because it does give you that tool set to apply once you are able to recognize when maybe your feeling brain is about to pull you in the wrong direction. You can, again, with the elephant and the rider, there's going to be, and same thing with, there's going to be better elephant riders. They know how to rein things in, and I think that's what you could look at someone like Daniel Kahneman as. He can probably recognize very quickly when he's thinking irrationally, start applying the tool set, and you can do the same if you start building your awareness. And I'd recommend reading this book by Mark Manson, both of his and also his previous book, Subtle Art, just to start building awareness around your own thinking and your own feelings, and understanding when you're making decisions if you are going on something principle based, or if it's just strictly through emotion. That's that for today. I'll make more note cards in the future. Thanks for checking this out.